All right, the time is now 5 o'clock. I'd like to call today's City of Bloomington Utility Service Board City of Bloomington Utility Service Board meeting to order. I would like to start with the mission. The City of Bloomington Utilities' mission is to enhance the quality of life in our community by providing safe, sustainable, and high-quality drinking water, wastewater, and stormwater services in a cost-effective manner, promoting public health, economic vitality, and environmental stewardship. If any board member has any personal or financial conflict with any issues or individuals on the agenda, then please be sure to recuse yourself during those portions of the meeting. We will begin with petitions and communications. Are there any petitions and communications from the public? Welcome.
Hello, my name is Selena Powell. I am a customer relations representative with CBU, and I wanted to give you an update on my experience with taking online classes through the Homeschool Spanish Academy for the customer service. The classes are about 30 minutes long each. I take them online once a week virtually with a teacher from Guatemala. The main focus is learning grammar and vocabulary while practicing verbal exchanges through speaking exercises. I started taking these classes in May. The last class will be completed March 4th of 2026. From early July to mid-September, there was a brief break for student rush where I wasn't able to take these classes, but I have since then resumed them. This all began after joining the customer relations team when I found myself assisting multiple Spanish-speaking customers in person. I had then translated the paper contracts that we have into Spanish to assist the customers that come in, and I realized the importance of helping these customers with verbal communication and what a difference that can make. While working with my manager to create personal goals for professional growth, I made it a goal and priority to learn Spanish for our customers. When customers come into the office, they often use their own resources, such as a translation device or a translation service on their mobile device to communicate. My goal is to be more accessible to Spanish-speaking customers with verbal communication. With my training, I can assist customers without making them wait to see if a Spanish-speaking employee is available during business hours. Every customer is different, of course. Some have questions about starting or ending service, high water usage, and what charges are on their monthly bills. My learning focuses on speaking fluently to consistently address all concerns. In conclusion, by taking classes to learn Spanish, I am working towards better assisting all of our Spanish-speaking customers, no matter their concerns or questions. Do you have any questions, concerns, or comments?
Yeah, I think what you're doing is great, but please don't reveal it to the federal government.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
This is a well-needed service for our community and our customers. If I have a question, I guess it would be, so you said that you are translating things on like nonverbal communication right now. Is that correct? And has the class benefited you in that aspect?
Much. It has benefited me very much in communicating with our customers.
And how did you find this course?
So we looked at a few different options online, something that would work well with working hours. And we found this class that you can take either 30-minute or hour-long classes a week. And you choose your professor based on both your Spanish level and their English level. So you can choose the right one to learn.
Nice. Well, thank you again.
Hi, is there a charge for these classes that you're taking? And are we reimbursing you for these charges?
There is a charge, however, it is going through training. I believe it has come across the charges back in March.
So we have to pay.
Yes.
I mean, because this is a service that she is, and this is fantastic, that you've taken on, saw a need, and found a way to find a solution for it. So I think that's fantastic, and to that extent, I hope that we're looking at customer service as obviously one of the top areas within the within CPU that I think it's helpful, but there may be other areas that perhaps there may be other individuals within the organization that if we don't have Spanish-speaking groups or a Spanish-speaking employee that can help in those areas, it might be of interest to find somebody that could be of assistance. I also encourage you, while it's, I believe, personally much more difficult than learning Spanish or one of the other Romance languages, but I know we have a high Chinese population. I know we have Japanese population. So I don't know if there's even a way for us to investigate different things with that. It may not be languages, but it may be written information that perhaps is helpful to them.
Thank you. I think that's terrific. I'm excited for you, for our customers, and then excited for you to be able to have this skill for the rest of your life. So I think that's awesome, and thank you for taking the initiative to do it. A follow-up, kind of a combination of these questions. So you mentioned about, translating our paperwork. Is there like a question and answer sheet that we could provide our customers, like in English and Spanish? Are there resources within the city that we could, put it in other languages too? I think our website has some of that, right? I think I've looked at that before. So I guess that was my question that I answered myself. But congratulations, that's terrific. Good luck with the rest of your course. Thank you. Yeah.
Are there any additional questions?
Very proud of you. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much.
Are there any other petitions and communications? Hearing none, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting.
I just have one, I think, correction on page. I must say I got a little confused with the different Burnhams, and then I figured it out. I was like, why are? But on oh gosh, mine's not numbered. It's on in the section. Oh my gosh. In the water rates case, it's like the page that begins "and distribution system." There's a comment in there where I said unforeseen legacy issues, but I think it's unforeseen legal issues. I think that's supposed to be legal. That's my only change.
Have any other comments or questions on the agenda or on the previous meeting minutes?
I'll move approval of the minutes of September 8th, 2025.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Minutes are approved. Moving on to the approval of the claims. First, we have standard invoices for a total amount of $2,407,125.24. Are there any questions or comments on the standard invoices?
Okay, so on page 3, I actually have 2 questions. So my first question is about the Trades District green roof. So I looked back on all of our previous, like what we approved. We had back in 2023 as a board approved participating in that at the amount of $310,000. And now we're paying $237,750. Is that the final bill on it? And we haven't paid any other, so this is actually less than what was proposed. Fantastic. Second question on that, is it finished? I mean, I know we've all slept since then, but this was approved back in
Yeah, I was told it was
2023.
Yeah.
We would have paid for it if it wasn't finished.
Yes,
So
it's been
passed
finished and
inspections and all that stuff. So, great.
It's finished, okay.
yes, it's finished and I've been up and it looks beautiful.
And and that would be my third question to that one. When can we perhaps schedule a visit? Because from what I was told, as I recall looking through the minutes, we were going to be able to have tours of this, and it was going to be a place where the public could come. I'm not just, you'd have to schedule appointments, but come learn about it. So I think that would be a great opportunity for us to perhaps have a board outing or option to go see it. So those were my questions about the green roof. And then my second question, or my other set of questions is in regards to the 2023 interdepartmental agreement. Is that the last one to get caught up on? Or do we still have 2020?
2024 has not been agreed upon yet, so we're still catching up on 2023.
20
And this
okay.
is just we're paying the water each quarter this year.
Okay.
We paid the full sewer in the first quarter of this year.
That's
And
right.
we're paying the water one payment each quarter, so this is the third of four for this year.
Perfect,
Yep.
perfect. And at this time, we still don't know when we're going to see the 2024
Correct.
MOU. We have no
It's still
clue.
pending, yep.
Pending.
Mhm.
Fantastic. Thanks, guys. Those were my questions.
What part is pending? I guess what keeps us
We're
from?
revisiting the entire process, basically.
Okay.
And so the controller's office is reevaluating the, whatever you want to call the breakdown of each of those departments that were listed on the interdepartmental to make them more relevant to how we do business today. Sure.
Yeah, there were concerns about, I know in the past there were concerns with the interdepartmental as far as like, how did you come up with this number? What metrics did you use? And there were requests for it to be a little more transparent, and that's what we're trying to accomplish with this next one, is to make sure that we're showing clear metrics for how these numbers, how they're calculated.
So both sides can come forward and say, this is what we think this is what we're doing, and the city can say, this is what we think you're doing, and meet in the middle, okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
So then hopefully, then when the 2024 would be ready, then it would be pretty easy to make the one for 25. So then we could essentially be paying for that service as we receive it.
Yeah.
That would be the goals.
Yeah.
In theory, in a perfect world, we would pay for last year in the first quarter of this year,
Yes.
right? Just to be done with it, so.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the goal, but that would be what I would like to see going forward, yeah.
Thank you.
I'll go follow up as well. On the green roof, so yeah, I remember that. It was a reasonably large expense, given the amount of benefit accrued, because I remember asking that question, and it was pitched as this is an exemplar, it's going to be done right, it's something we can show off, and then developers will have an understanding of this is one of the tools or options that they have for both fulfilling different types of requirements as well as just trying to do the right thing. So in my mind, it would be helpful not only to have that as one point on a tour, but also seeing other examples of green infrastructure the same time when we go out to see the green roof. And because I would envision that as being a way that this is introduced to developers, not just one item, but rather here's the suite of things that we've done that we'd like to show off and our options to the community.
I would be delighted to take this board on a green infrastructure tour. Absolutely delighted. And to address your question about access to the green roof specifically, that is in our MOU, and as long as we give a little bit of notice that we plan on doing, I think specifically in the MOU, we said it was for educational workshop type things. As long as we're giving a little notice, because there are tenants in there who use that space for various things. So as long as we're giving notice, we have access to it whenever we'd like. Yeah.
Cool.
I have a question. How much, maintenance will be required for that? Like weeding Or,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. So there are maintenance requirements. I believe they should have an O&M. They do have an O&M, operations and maintenance manual, and so they follow that. There's, you know, vegetation maintenance and also maintenance of the infrastructure as well. Yeah.
If indeed we're gonna do a tour, could we include in that some of the projects that were involved in the research, in the grant funding that we gave out? Where people, you know, did culverts or
That-
rain,
That may be a little more difficult because those are private residences.
well, we could drive by.
But we've supported.
But we won't tell the federal government we're going. We might, an unmarked van. We are not immigrants.
No.
Good Lord.
Oh, boy.
We have supported green infrastructure in the right-of-way, so we've brought several MOUs to this board, maybe 3 at this point, MOUs to the board where we have provided funds to install rain gardens along with other improvements that were happening in the right-of-way, such as greenway projects. So I think a tour of those facilities would be very nice.
Actually, to just, this kind of goes off topic, but on topic, with what Jim was suggesting, it might be a nice idea if this is already included when we do the grants proposal for the candidates to submit a before and after picture. Because that would be a very easy way for us, and it would also be a wonderful way for you guys to be able to promote the advertising of what folks have been able to do. Again, when you talk to people about swales and rain gardens and French this, I mean, before I got involved with the board, I had no idea what those things were. So to share that information with the visuals with the public might be very beneficial. And again, nice for us to see without stalking the neighborhoods.
Drive by.
I have a question on page 1, the first Amazon, our large pond floating fountain for diffusing scum. So I just wondered where that is. Is it temporarily used, or is it like a permanent fixture somewhere?
Well, it looks like it's definitely at Monroe, but I'm not sure what the purpose of it is for. I don't know, you know.
I believe this is in our flocculation basins. This fountain, it deters algae growth.
Keeps
Yeah.
the water.
Water, right.
Yeah, keeps the water
I
moving.
just didn't, I guess that would just probably be like a replacement for something. I would assume we've got something that aerates all the water.
I'm not sure if it was a replacement or if it was an
We
addition.
needed, okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Do we have any other questions on the standard invoices?
I move we approve standard invoices for pay date September 26th.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Standard invoices are approved. Next, we have utility bills for a total amount of $172,075.35. Are there any questions or comments on the utility bills?
I move we approve the September utility bills.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Utility bills are approved. Next, we have wire transfers for a total amount of $554,380.14. Any questions or comments on the wire transfers?
I move we approve wire transfers for September of 25.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Wire transfers are approved. Next, we have customer refunds for a total amount of $4,888.35. Any questions or comments on the customer refunds?
right. I move we approve customer refunds for September 26th.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Customer refunds are approved. Lastly, we have a special check run for a total amount of $2,054.73. Any questions or comments on the special check run?
I move we approve the special check run for September 15th.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Special check run is approved. Thank you all. Item 5 on our agenda is approval of a consent agenda. Catherine Zager.
Good evening, I'm Catherine Zager, Utilities Director. I'm presenting tonight's consent agenda totaling $20,000. And the first contract is with Greener Day Solutions for $0 for a pilot study of a screw press for the biosolids handling building at Blucher Pool Wastewater Plant. The second is with AMI Roofing Contractors, Inc. for $20,000 for on-call roofing services. Is there any member who wishes to consider one or more of these items individually? Hearing none, if there's no opposition, these items will be approved as recommended by staff. Hearing no opposition, the consent agenda is approved.
Item 6 on our agenda is request approval of service agreement with Win Industries Incorporated for temporary repair to alum tank. Dan Hudson.
Good afternoon. I'm Dan Hudson, Capital Projects Manager for the City of Bloomington. I'd like the board to consider a contract with Win Industries to repair the alum tank at the Monroe Water Plant for $75,900. Willing to take any questions on the project?
So, thank you.
Yeah.
I know this is a temporary repair.
Yes.
Does that mean that if our rate case is approved, that a more permanent repair would be made with the water treatment plant improvements?
Yeah, currently, we're under design with Wessler to redesign the whole alum feed project, and we're about ready to put it on the shelf until we get money to do this. But even with that, it would take 1.5, 2 years to get everything rebuilt. But in the meantime, we're under regulatory requirements to have at least 30 days worth of alum on site.
Yes.
And so that's what the temporary repairs are for.
And what's our time frame to get this completed?
I think we might be able to get it done before the end of the year.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay.
And what's our current storage?
Say that again?
Current storage for it. You said
Current-
we required to have a 30-day storage.
Yeah.
What do we
What
have
that
right now?
number is, I don't have that on the top of my head.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Dan?
All right, I move approval of the contract with Win Industries.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Request is approved. Thank you.
Okay.
Item 7 is request approval of service agreement with Herzig Engineering Incorporated. Mark Menifee.
Hello, Mark Menifee, utility engineer. I'd like the board to consider a contract with Herzig Engineering. They are a specialty engineering contract or consultant that does arc flash studies. And this is for to update our compliance with NFPA regulations for electrical arc flash. They will also do an infrared study, so they will look at the electrical equipment, looking for hot spots, any work that needs to be done. Contract is for $48,728. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions for Mark?
So this is mandatory compliance work that has to be done.
NFPA 70E.
Yeah. How often do we do this?
We need to do it, every time we really make major changes to our system, we would need to come back and update this. So we would use this engineer to update those plans every time. This also includes labeling all of the electrical equipment with the hazard. It includes training for all the maintenance employees and anyone who would be around this electrical equipment. It's really just it is a measure of how dangerous the equipment is and what PPE you would want to wear when working on that.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
All right, I move approval of our contract or approval of services agreement with Hertzing Enterprises LLC.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Request is approved. Mark, would you like a seat? You're gonna be up there for a couple more.
Right in your chair.
Next, we have request approval of amendment number 1 to agreement with Springfield Electric Supply. Mr. Mark Menifee.
I'd like the board to consider this amendment. You might remember a few weeks ago, we had the failure of a variable frequency drive on a motor. When we had the startup technician on site, we had, the VFD was working, but we had trouble with a motor and a pump. So the technician spent extra time on the site, and that's what this amendment's for, $1,962,000 for a total of $6,220.
Any questions on the agreement with Springfield Electric Company?
I move approval of the amendment to our contract with Springfield Electric Supply.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Request is approved. Next, we have request approval of amendment number 2 to agreement with Wessler Engineering. Mark Menifee.
I'd like to consider this change to the Wessler Engineering contract. You might recall that we are doing a project at Blucher Pool to upgrade the PLCs and the SCADA system, and we ended up, for various reasons, having to bid that job 3 times in a row in order to get a contract. Wessler did extra work changing that contract in between bids, and also the extra work of bidding those out and recommending the recommended bidder. So the extra amount that we have for Wessler is to add $15,000 to their not-to-exceed total of $417,000. Happy to answer any questions.
I'll move approval of our amendment number 2 with Wessler Engineering.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Item 10 is request approval of updates to cross-connection control enforcement response plan. Matt Daberding.
Hi, I'm Matt Dabberton. I am the Environmental Program Coordinator in CVU Engineering. I am here with some updates to the enforcement response plan for my program. It's been a long time since the board has last seen this plan, so I just wanted to kind of give an overview again about what my program is about and some of the changes being made to the plan, because the red line version is a little intimidating with how much we have updated. So backflow prevention is about the principle of water flowing backwards from a customer system back into our water main, which can introduce potential contaminants if they mix anything into their water. The ways that this can commonly happen are if there is a main break, it can cause the pressure to drop in the main enough that the pressure in the customer system is higher, where it'll then flow back to where it's lower down in the main. Or if there is a fire where the fire department needs to pump a bunch of water that can also drop the pressure in the main enough to cause reverse flow back into our system. And while not everybody has an orange barrel with the skull and crossbones hooked up to their water, there are a lot of potential cross-connection hazards out there that we deal with in our daily lives. One of those is commonly lawn sprinkler systems. People commonly add fertilizers or things of that nature in line to those systems to spray out when they're watering the lawn, or let's see if I can get my video to play here, or fire sprinkler systems. Water in these stagnates over time. It just sits there for years and turns black and nasty looking like this. And obviously we don't want that going back into our drinking water and coming out of our customers' faucets. Another common risk is soda machines. You'll see these out around town in pretty much every restaurant. And the issue with these is the CO2 that gets added to carbonate them. If that flows backwards, it can mix with the water to create some weak acids that, if it gets into copper pipes, can then leach the copper out of it, which in enough quantities can make people sick enough that they need to go to the hospital. And so that's what we're trying to work to prevent, is things like these from getting people sick. So backflow preventer works basically as a series of check valves. It's basically just a one-way valve where water can push from one side and push it open, but from the other side it's sealed shut and can't work its way backwards into our system. And while this diagram looks a little complicated, they're usually not too complex when you get to the inside. Most of these are just a rubber disc on a spring that sits against a seat. And so all it's doing is just sitting there for water to push through and keeping it from going backwards into our system. These are commonly used, as I mentioned, on irrigation systems, so both residential customers and commercial. Domestic water, typically on commercial customers, as well as fire sprinkler systems, again, mostly commercial customers. And there's all different types for these different applications, but they all work on the same principles. For the domestic, there's a whole list of different types of businesses that are required by the state to have backflow prevention. So automotive plants like Carlisle up the street here for the brake factory, beverage bottling plants like Upland on the west side of town, car washes, which it seems like we have more of every time you blink in this town, laboratories, medical buildings, different kinds of manufacturers, pharmaceutical plants, which we have several of in town, like Cook here in the corner of my slide, or Simtra, commercial laundries like dry cleaners, or sewage treatment plants, so that includes us. We have about 30 of these in our different facilities that I maintain. So what do we do with these once we're installed? The Indiana Administrative Code lays out rules for the installation of these devices. As I mentioned, that list before this, and then the Indiana Department of Environmental Management requires us to maintain a database tracking that these are being tested and repaired to make sure that they work annually. And so what we have done is created the backflow chapter of the water ordinance. It's chapter 24 of Title IX, which allows us to conduct inspections, review plans for new installations, maintain a testing database, and the software we use for that is called Track My Backflow, and conduct enforcement if our customers don't follow the rules. And there are a good amount of customers out there that don't follow the rules. This is kind of my, I had a title on here when I presented this to the in presentation within our department called the Wall of Shame. And most of these are not through the fault of our customers themselves, but rather the installer. The one on the left there is a device that had a meter installed on it, and it got replaced. They took the meter out and then buttoned it all back up and left the meter sitting in the corner of the pit there, as I discovered. The one in the middle is in a restaurant, and my best guess is that it froze at some point, and they used what they had, which was foam and painter's tape, and covered it up, and then I eventually forgot what it was, and then had stopped maintaining it from there. And the one on the right is a residential irrigation system where the installer had put the backflow preventer in a control valve box, and by the time I had gotten to it, it was half buried, and obviously you can't maintain or test that very easily if it's halfway stuck in the ground. We have over 3,000 of these installed in our water system, and as I mentioned, we use that software called Track My Backflow to track the testing of these. As I mentioned, they're supposed to be tested annually, and if we require a customer to have testing done, the contractor they use for that would submit it to that system. It would be assigned an annual due date, and then they send out automated reminder notices saying that their yearly due date is coming up, or if they're past due, then we're told they have 15 days before the utility takes action. And so this has been really helpful because it takes it down from 3,000 devices that we always have to keep track of to just a couple hundred at a time. But once we get beyond those 2 reminder notices, then it's up to the utility to take action through the enforcement response plan. So we are updating this plan in large part to improve enforcement consistency. This is a snippet I had taken from the old enforcement plan, where the range of response to a particular problem is basically anything from a phone call to a compliance schedule between 1 and 30 days. It's really the full gamut of anything you could do. And so it's been difficult for me when I see that to decide which response am I supposed to take. If I have basically the full range available, and if they don't respond in a timely manner, what I am supposed to do next. So that's the kind of thing that we're trying to improve with these updates. We're also tightening our enforcement process to try and protect our customers' health. The old enforcement response plan had defined a show cause hearing for termination of service, for a shutoff of people's water, as well as legal action. However, it didn't really use these types of tools in any of the range of response actions. And so that's our basically ultimate recourse. If we can't get a customer to comply from any other means, then we would shut the water to make sure that there's no risk to the public health of the rest of our customers. And the other changes that we've made are a lot of updates to the language throughout the document, both just for clarity as well as making sure that it lines up with what's written in the ordinance. We had this whole section on right of appeal before, which was different from what was written in the ordinance. So we updated it to just say, follow what's in the ordinance to make sure that it's consistent between the two. The main changes are to the table in the back of the document. We've replaced the old table with this matrix of the range of responses and types of violations, which we've tried to trim down by a couple to make things simpler for people to understand when they see this table. Each type of violation now has a clear escalation path, so instead of the full range every time, we have a typical response, and then if the customer doesn't get into compliance within the amount of time we give them, then we would move on to the second, third, or fourth step from there. And each type of violation, as I mentioned, generally will end with a shut-off or legal action if we can't attain compliance through other means. And so we would be, of course, working with the customers, trying to get in contact and do as much as we can to ensure compliance before we get to that step, but we felt that it was necessary to include as a potential action if we can't attain compliance through any other means. And so what this does for our typical enforcement cases is the old plan, as I mentioned, it was very broad. If a device becomes overdue for testing, which is kind of our main violation we see, we would then send them a notice of violation requiring compliance after they get their 2 automated notices from Track My Backflow. And then if they didn't respond after that point, the plan said that we could fine anywhere between $1 and $2,500 a day, and that was kind of all the guidance it had given beyond that point. And so that's where I left off, because obviously that is a very large range to have to pick through for each individual customer. After the changes, it should simplify things. So if a device becomes overdue, we would send them a violation letter requiring compliance. We would give them 15 days as a general guide, and then we would move on to a flat $150 fine per device they have that's overdue if they did not respond. That $150 number is roughly the cost of a test. We had to try and balance it between giving residential customers not too much of a penalty for people who don't have as much ability to pay compared to commercial customers who may not notice or may not care about a lesser fine. And then we would move on from that point to a shut-off hearing if they had not contacted us, and if they had not contacted somebody to at least schedule a test. And that's everything. I'm happy to answer any questions. I know this is not something that comes up very often.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. So we do have an irrigation system, so I have a few questions.
Yeah.
My memory is that before 5 or 6 years ago, we knew nothing about backflow. Is that right?
That's pretty much correct.
Okay.
We were required by the state to establish a backflow prevention program in 2018
Sounds about
as a
right.
utility, but the rules have been around for much longer than that, since the mid-'80s.
So we were just getting away with it for
Yeah.
quite a while. Okay. So
Essentially, yes.
So then my next question is, how do you know that I have an irrigation system?
That is a fun question. That's something that I have been working to figure out. The previous people in my role before me had worked to kind of establish the program and get it off the ground. And a lot of my work I've been doing is inspections to find all the devices that have been out there since before our program started. Because there's a lot of people out there who have never tested, their irrigation system or fire sprinkler or so on. And so I've basically been going and doing inspections with John Arbuckle in the back there to find these systems. Usually the ways we can tell are either they'll have a irrigation meter on their services in our billing system, but we don't have any information for the backflow preventer. That's a way we can tell. Or by huge spikes in the usage during the summer months is another way we can.
But I also
find
suspect that, it happens to be Nature's Link that does ours.
Yeah.
I assume that you got in touch with companies like Nature's Link that do irrigation systems, and they provided a
Yeah,
list of their
there's
customers?
several contractors in town that have testers on staff. To become a tester, they have to go through a 40-hour course through the state. But there's several irrigation companies, several fire sprinkler installers, and plumbing outfits in town that have testers. So if a customer calls to schedule a test, usually they can do it within a matter of days or within a week or two, just depending on their schedule.
Okay, final question. I know they do this every year,
Mhm.
and for us, they do it when they turn the system on in the spring,
Yes.
and it always seems that it's right up against the date that
Mhm.
it's required, so that if the person who does it were sick one week, we would probably go past the date, so there would be no problem then. I would just get a notice of violation with a certain amount of time to
Yeah.
comply.
hmm Yeah, if a customer runs over, the automated notices they get from our tracking system would give them 15 days before we take action, so 15 days past the due date. Then we would send a letter giving another 15 days before we would take further enforcement with fines or that sort of thing. So essentially, if it runs over, you have a month of leeway before a fine or something like that.
Okay, thanks. Sorry to take everyone's time.
And it, well, and additionally, we're pretty flexible, where if people call us and they say, hey, I called my, contractor, they can't get out here for 3 weeks or something like that, then we would be pretty flexible as far as like extensions or that sort of thing goes. The goal is not to punish people, it's just to get compliance.
Okay, thanks.
Hmm?
Any other questions or comments from Mike?
So in the previous tools you had available for enforcing looked like there was a lot more flexibility,
Mhm.
right? Less specificity, so you're wondering maybe what to do. But when I saw the list of different types of customers, it seemed like some of them posed a more severe risk to our water supply than others. And
Yes.
so it made me wonder, when you put up like typical case, are there any tools you have, if it's someone you're really concerned about, that you don't have to use that typical case? You can have some other mechanism to get them to act quicker?
Yeah, the enforcement plan also gives us the ability, I think it's somewhere on one of the earlier pages, it mentions how basically that the matrix we've laid out, I think there's also a disclaimer under the matrix that in some extraordinary case where we have a customer that we're particularly concerned about, say if it's like a particularly severe violation, that we can defer from what's laid out in those steps and either skip to a later step or take a different enforcement action than just what's listed out. So it still gives us that flexibility in a extraordinary case, but for a typical case, the idea I had was to kind of give more of a guideline than just a range of any and all actions.
Yeah, it gives you guidance and predictability for the customers as well.
Mhm.
Good, thanks.
I just want to say thank you for giving the update on all of this. This is very informative, and I appreciate the show and tell, because that's very helpful to see how something works. For somebody who doesn't install it, doesn't
Mhm.
live around it, I don't have an irrigation system, Jim, but to be able to see how that works is very cool. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Okay. I move approval of the revisions to the cross-connection control enforcement response plan.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Request is approved. Thank you. Great presentation. Next, we have request approval of resolution 2025-19 to designate surplus property for auction. Matt Havey.
Yeah, we just have some bits and pieces up in the yard that we'd like to try to sell, and if nobody buys them, we'll scrap them out.
Have any questions or comments from Matt?
I move we approve the disposal and surplus items as listed in our report of September 15th.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Request is approved. Next, we have request approval of amendment number 4 to agreement with Azteca Systems LLC. Matt Havey.
Yeah, so the Azteca Systems is the software that we use for our CityWorks program, which is our work order maintenance system for the TD folks, and also an asset management system. We're just gonna have somebody come on site and do some training for the whole utility, so.
Any questions or comments?
All right, I move approval of the 4th amendment to our agreement with Azteca Systems LLC.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Request is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on, old business. Do we have any old business from the board? Old business from staff?
No.
New business, any new business from the board?
So I've got an item, I wanted to just update folks. I attended Utilities Cybersecurity update meeting on September the 8th. And I'm really pleased that both our utility staff and the city IT staff are working together. And I've gotten an assessment both in our cybersecurity and our physical facility security, an assessment that came from the Department of Homeland Security, their Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. I think I mentioned that maybe a few months ago, how we were headed down this road. But they gave us an update in their quarterly meeting, and CISA gave us, the federal agency gave us a list of recommendations for improvements, and we're slowly working our way through those. So Nolan Hendon and others from the IT department, both here and at Civil City, gave us updates about the progress they're making on each of those recommendations. The good news is we're making progress, and that we've identified things to improve, because we all know that critical infrastructure is a target of our adversaries, either domestic or international, and we want to make sure that our systems are in the best shape they can be. So, trudging along. It may get one of the things that we've talked about is the improvements to the SCADA systems that we've been approving. Some of our systems are older, and by buying the new ones, that's going to give us the latest versions and updates that are more secure and link our systems together better. The other point I'd make is that I really was impressed by how well city IT, which we depend on downtown, and our staff both are working together, and when they see things, they work out the issues and try to come up with best improvements. So I think we're making good progress there. We've still got a lot to do, and we'll keep you informed how that's coming along.
Awesome, thank you for that report. Any other new business from the board? New business from staff? We didn't have a subcommittee, so no subcommittee reports today. Staff reports?
Not today.
Oh, goodness. Any petitions and communications from the public? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Okay.